Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for our virtual Rebel Recharge lecture. We have a great lineup of engaging and educational talks that we are excited to share this spring. You can see our full schedule of events at engage.unlv.edu/events. I am Gabrielle Engel, a proud 2010 Boyd School of Law alumna and your UNLV Alumni Association president. It is my honor to personally welcome you, each of you here today. I would also like to give a special welcome and thanks to Blake Douglas, Associate Vice President for Alumni Engagement and Executive Director of the UNLV Alumni Association, and Renee Rivera-Gelfi, Coordinator for Programs and Events, for producing today's virtual lecture. Our next Rebel Recharge will take place during Women's History Month on Friday, March 18th, and is entitled "The Lady is Taking Charge," a discussion about the influence on Las Vegas of its first female mayor, Jan Jones. Our goal is to continue to grow our programs and events and create fun, educational, and engaging opportunities for our alumni, faculty, staff, students, and community members. Today's discussion is entitled "The Process to Prosperity," presented by Executive Career Advancement Coach Dominic Militello. Dominic is a former professional athlete and a standout student athlete from the 1987 UNLV Men's Soccer Championship team, as well as a class of 1989 alumnus. Dominic has helped hundreds of executives find prosperity through the job search process. He specializes in assisting top talent to effectively interact, interview, and negotiate at a very high level within today's extremely competitive marketplace. He is on a lifelong mission to change the job search social paradigm from a job seeker to employer process to a brand to brand process. Prior to starting his own business, Dominic worked for a number of different companies in a variety of industries, including but not limited to sports, finance, healthcare, automotive, education, and recruiting. Fueled with gratitude and cutting-edge strategies, Dominic feels like he is finally back in the major leagues, succeeding at a high level and prospering in his second dream job. If you have any questions during today's lecture, please feel free to put them in the chat or raise them at the end. Renee will be monitoring the chat throughout the presentation. With that said, please join me in welcoming Dominic.
Thanks, Gabby. Thanks, Renee. Appreciate it. Guys, I'll start off with this picture right here. So that's vintage 1987-88. That was part of our championship soccer team right there at UNLV. Had a great experience. My mom and dad, my dad passed away in 2018, but my mom still lives in the Summerlin area. We're Raiders season ticket holders, so we're in Vegas all the time. So anyway, I want to just dive in, you guys. I really appreciate you being here today. I'm excited to share the information with you. I'm really wanting to just share that I'm on a lifelong mission and really kind of need your help in helping me deliver the message. You see, when I retired from professional athletics in my ripe old age of 26, I had to go find something else to do with my life. And really what happened was I thought it was going to be relatively easy. And what I didn't realize, I was walking into a tsunami, a massive hurricane, if you will, of real life. And I heard Oprah Winfrey call it one time, going through the dark night of the soul. And I totally get what she means by that, because for about 15 years, I was lost, didn't know where I was going. I had just married into a family of 3 kids, a big house, a dog named Rufus, and I had no idea what I was doing or where I was going. I had spent 26 years of my life as perfecting my craft as a professional athlete, and didn't know what I was getting into. Fortunately, obviously, I came out of that experience. And I came out with some knowledge, and that's the knowledge I want to share with you today. And here it is in a nutshell. What I discovered, you guys, was that the current job search process as it is today, in my opinion, is totally broken. It's not designed for our success. It's not designed for us to really achieve the success and the results we want in finding careers that are meaningful, purposeful. And so what I did was set out to go change that. And not only for you, but for our children. When I started teaching this stuff, well, applying it to myself and then teaching others, then I started taking it to the children, our young kids, and started implementing some of this information to them. And it's made a world of difference in my own kids. And so when you get into this mindset of taking ownership of your own personal brand, we'll talk more about it in a second, it's just going to change everything about how you, this isn't a job search process per se, it's more of a self-transformation process. And I firmly believe that most people are wanting to go to work where they can contribute every day, where they're in growth mode, expansion mode, where they can be part of something bigger than themselves and get compensated at or above market value, right? Where they're making a difference. I believe that's possible for every single one of us. The problem is we've been programmed when we get into the job search process to do certain things, get online, send resumes, fill out applications, network ineffectively, get referrals into positions that we don't even want to be in. So when we're going through today's presentation, I want you to just to think about what it means. What does it mean to learn, right? And I saw this quote from Sidney Herbert Wood. He was a retired principal of the British Secretary of Ministry of Education. He said the acid test of an educated person are three things. One, can you entertain another person? There are many people out there when it comes to meeting new people, their hands get clammy, their heart rate goes up, they start shaking, right? And they only do it because they really have to. But I think you should really get comfortable with being able to entertain another person. Can you entertain yourself? There are many people who just sit around, you know, and they never really go do anything, right? I mean, they always have to be around other people. But through understanding and study, I think you can learn to be alone and enjoy being by yourself. Most of the time that we are alive, we're spending, you know, time by ourselves. So I think it's important to be able to get comfortable with ourselves, right? And the third and most important one is, can you entertain a new idea? If we're going to improve, and we're going to have to be have an open mind. An open mind can mean the ability or being prepared to throw away some of our most cherished beliefs. And when a better idea comes along, we'll have to find a way to be able to engage those new ideas, right? A lot of people drag their old experiences with them. And when confronted with a new idea, they ask, does it fit? And if it doesn't, they just toss it out. What we should ask is, will this new idea improve the quality of my life, or will it get me to where I want to go, right? So today I'll be introducing some new ideas that are positive, creative, constructive, and I hope that you can take the time to be open and listen and engage with it, right? The very first thing, I always start my sessions out with suggesting that you get a journal, right? And I started calling it a success journal, and then I changed it a little bit to say, to calling it a results journal. Now, I went out and bought one. I always have a journal with, here's mine. You can get these at Barnes and Noble. I spent a little bit more money on my journal, simply because I felt, for me, if I had spent a little bit more money on it, I would write in it. But listen to what the Harvard Business School says about journaling. They say at the end of the day, 25% increase in performance for those who journaled as opposed to those who didn't. As the researchers concluded, results reveal reflection to be a powerful mechanism behind learning. American philosopher, psychologist, and educational reformer John Dewey stated, "We do not learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience." And I thought that was so key in this process, because oftentimes we think journaling is sitting down and writing, oh, I didn't feel good today, or what. Okay, it can be about that. But what if we tracked all of our performance at work? What if some of the things that we do in our daily lives within our work sphere, we just make note of it? You know what that's going to do come performance time, when you can sit down, when you're sitting down with your boss and they're saying, well, we're not sure if we're going to give you that, you know, $2 increase in, you know, for your bonus, Dominic. And you're going to say, no, you are going to give me that bonus, because on January 17th, I was faced with this problem. I took this action and I got these results, causing an increase in revenue by X percentage. And then in February and in March and April, May, you can just write down the list of the things you don't think you're going to remember it. Even the big projects you're involved in, write them down, take note of them, and reflect on them, okay? The next thing we have to do is understand this whole process is nothing but one big marketing project, right? And it's about personal branding. We're hearing more and more about this with NIL and the name, image, and likeness with our athletes these days. But when we start identifying that we are seriously the CEO of our own brands, we will start to take back some control in this process. This is such a key point in this whole project. You are the CEO of your own personal brand. Most people never sit down to really define what that means. Who am I? What do I believe in? What are my core values? What are my strengths? What are my areas of improvement? What do I really love to do? How do I handle certain situations? Listen, every thought, word, and action you've ever done in your life to this very moment makes up your brand value. Your brand value is either going up or it's going down every minute, just by the thoughts you think, the words you speak. By you being here today increases your value. Why? Because you're learning something new, hopefully, right? So I'm going to suggest take time in your journal and define what your brand is. Who are you? What do you want? Where do you want to go, right? And the product of your brand is basically the results that you will deliver. See, when I started going out and job searching as a former professional athlete, I thought this is going to be easy. Everybody's going to want to hire me because I could score goals and I could sign autograph and I did charity work. You know what I discovered? They didn't care about that. Nobody cares about that. All they wanted to know is, what could I do for them? How could I increase productivity? How could I increase revenue? How could I solve some of their problems? I had no idea what they were even talking about. But this is what I've learned, is that my results are what I'm taking with me to the interview process, what I'm taking with me to the job search process, okay? So we get out of this job seeker mentality. You're not a job seeker, you're an executive. Even if you're a recent college graduate, you're a junior executive. Okay, think of yourself that way. As you climb the ladder, then you're an executive. And as you get to the upper levels, you're a senior executive. Stop looking at yourself as a job seeker. Just get rid of that. Get rid of the whole job search process as you know it. It's broken. And we're going to talk more about that in just a second. Now, what happens in the job seeker mentality? These are the stages that we go through, okay? Now, when you get into it initially, most people are pretty confident, right? They do, because you're either just starting out and you're excited, or you're just leaving, whatever. You're pretty confident you can land something relatively easy. What happens from there is quickly, you might become a little frustrated. I sent out my resume and applied for a position that I know I can do in my sleep, Dominic, and I never heard back from them. You get a little frustrated when that starts happening, right? The next emotion that happens is you start getting a little bit more concerned. I'm feeling a little lost, or I'm not sure what's going on out there, Dominic. I have a master's degree, I have a doctorate degree, and nobody's responding, nobody's replying to me, right? Then you start doubting yourself, where you say, even senior executives say, well, maybe I'll take a cut in pay. Well, maybe I'll switch industries from what I've been in for the last 20 years, right? Or maybe I'll go get more education, right? I hear these things all the time. And so when I hear that, I know the person I'm speaking with is in job seeker mentality. Then there's confusion. And then at the very end, this is where I spent a lot of my time going through this, was in desperation, just taking a job just to get out of the house, just to take a job to have some income, to feel like I was contributing, right? These are job seeker emotions. And what I'm saying to you is, when you get into executive mentality, you stay incompetent. Maybe you get a little frustrated, we all do, but you stay in the upper levels of this emotional spectrum, okay? So the next thing we want to talk about, because we're on such limited time, is the hidden job market, okay? Now, when I ask people, do you know what the hidden job market is? Everybody says, oh yeah. And I go, okay, well, share it with me. What is the hidden job market? And they're like, well, I know Steve down at the auto shop. If I need my car fixed, I call Steve. And I said, okay, well, that's part of it. What else is it? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, here's the truth behind the hidden job market, you guys. The hidden job market, actually, don't get fooled by the simplicity of my little slides here, right? I'm not a tech person, so don't let the simplicity fool you. The hidden job market actually sits in the job creation process. And what I mean by that, if we go left to right on the screen, our employer's on the left and our hire, right, to get hired is on the right side of the screen here. So what happens is, with most companies, there's some problem. Something's going on with an organization. Has anybody been part of an organization where something's gone wrong, or it's not right, or we can improve, right? Something's going on there. Now, the good companies will recognize that problem and they'll go take action, right? The companies that don't recognize it, it's not a very fun place to work, is it? Right? So what they'll do is they'll recognize it. Now, they'll either create the job, rewrite the job, they'll do something to fix the problem. Most likely it's creating a new job because of technology or emerging markets, whatever it might be. Now, you guys know this as well as I do. The first place they're going to go to fill that position is where? Internally. That's where promotions from within come from, right? They're going to fill that position from within. Now, if they can't fill that position from within, they're going to go where? No, not outside yet. They're going to ask people within the organization who they know. Why? Because hiring is expensive. And if I know Renee, and Renee is a friend of mine, but I think she can fit into the position we're looking for, they would rather do that because they know me, I know her. It's a much simpler way of going about it. Not always can they fill it from referrals. And when that's the case, then they'll send it down to the HR department. That's when the postings get sent out to 60 million people. And now everybody's fighting for that position, okay? And if we can't fill it through the posting, then an organization will go out and hire a recruiter to go fill that position, okay? Now, a couple caveats here. Sometimes a company will hire a recruiter in the beginning of the process. They know they don't have the person. They know it's a total new market, and so they just don't waste the time with this other piece of it. They'll just go straight to the front part of the model to go hire a recruiter to go find the right person. And here's the other thing. Oftentimes, they'll fill the position in step 4, right? They already know who they want, but because of compliance reasons, they'll still send the posting down the line and it will still go out to the general public. So when we see it in the general public, oftentimes those positions have already been filled. And you'll say, I hear this from executives all the time, Dominic, there was this position that it was made for me, and I called and they didn't call me back, or I went in for the interview and they didn't really give me the time I needed to really explain who I was, because they've already filled it. The job was already filled 3 weeks ago. You're just now seeing the posting, okay? Now, most people in the traditional job search process spend their time here at the end of the model, okay? This is why I say to you, stop sending your resume out. Stop looking for a job, okay? Again, most people don't know what their brand is. They don't know what they're looking for anyway, but they're going out to the marketplace and they're looking for something they don't even know what they're looking for. Plus, those positions are generally already filled. This is what the fixed mindset, the job seeker mentality is all about. We're hoping, we're waiting. I'm a victim. The ball's in their court. I'm too old. I'm too young. I don't have enough this. I don't have enough that. I'm waiting. I'm looking, right? Reminds me of Ebenezer Scrooge in the beginning of the movie. Do you guys remember? How is Ebenezer Scrooge at the beginning of the movie? He's all shriveled up. He's closed off. He's grumpy. He's mad. That's the same way as traditional job searching. It's frustrating. It's ugly, right? We're not open. We're not giving. We're not sympathetic. We're not empathetic. We're not in control, right? So here's what professionals do. What professionals do is they'll understand that they need a game plan. They understand that if I can get in front of the right person at the right time with the right message, I can make some things happen. If I can get in when they're experiencing some problems and I'm the solution, man, maybe I can go in there and create my own job. See, when you understand this, now you have more avenues. Then you can even actually use avenues 6 and 7 to your advantage. Does it make sense? So we want to be able to use all 7 avenues to our advantage in this process. And when you do this, and you can really only effectively do it when you've switched from job seeker mentality to being the owner of your own personal brand, okay? Hopefully this is making some sense to you. Now, that's the why. Here's the why we do this, right? Because one, there's more opportunities out there. When you're playing in front before that posting gets sent down, there's more opportunities. There's better quality opportunities. There's less competition, and oftentimes they'll tailor a position for you, right? But nobody's teaching this. And this is why I'm saying this is a message not only for you, but you've got to get this message out to your children as quickly as possible. Don't let them believe that the only way to get a job out there is through a job board. It's so ridiculous, right? I don't even know where that came from or why. It's demoralizing, right? Well, I went to the job board where I sent my information to a recruiter. They don't have any vested interest in you. They're getting paid by the company. They're there to pass resumes, right? You don't have a relationship with the recruiter yet. So we want to uncover needs. We want to be curious. We want to take ownership of ourselves and our process. We want to send proposals. We want to engage our network. So we're not just saying, hey, Renee, do you know anybody who happens to own a company that has a position exactly for me and my compensation in the industry and the service that I specialize in? Do you know anybody like that? Of course you don't. Nobody does. Okay? So this is what the hidden job market's all about, you guys. This is where we need to spend our time. Now, when you get into this mentality, oh yeah, and you must know you before you can inquire about them. Okay? Now, of course, I can't get into all this detail right here, but I'm just giving you the overview of the information here. Now, when you get into this mentality, this growth mindset where you're in charge, you're making things happen, you're in control. Let's take back ownership of our brand and our process and our lives. That's what this is all about. I'm identifying the 10 or 20 or 50 companies I want to work for. Well, they already have somebody in that position. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they already have somebody in that position. The Rams just won the Super Bowl. Do you think they're not going to stop looking for top talent? Or you think they're going to cash it in and say, well, we won the Super Bowl this year, so we're good. We don't ever need a new quarterback or a new wide receiver or a new punter or kick. No, they're always looking for the best talent. That's how they stay on top. Okay? It's like Ebenezer Scrooge at the end of the movie. Do you remember how open he was? Do you remember how giving he was? Do you remember how happy and joyful he was? This is how we should get up every single morning and go to work. Now, there was a long period of time in my life where I was like Ebenezer in the beginning of the movie. And then I discovered my purpose, right? And now you can hear it in my voice. You can hear it in right? I'm a Hispanic Italian, so of course my hands are going to be going everywhere. But I just love this process. I love this information. And I love to see the change when my clients get it, when the light bulb goes off and they go, oh, that makes a lot of sense, right? Now, for most people, we view this process as the bridge being broken. I'm too old, I'm too young, don't have enough this. Listen, we'll help you get from where you're at to where you want to go. Don't settle though. Don't take a cut and pay. Don't start over. You don't need more education. You're great right where you're at. You just before we can talk about transferring the skill set, we have to transfer the mindset. Get out of job seeker mentality. Get into ownership of your brand, what you bring to the table. Dominic, well, why should we hire you? Here's why you should hire me, because I'm going to increase value and productivity and revenues by 13% in the first month I'm on board. Now, you tell me why I should come to work for you. Right? Let's take ownership of our process. Dr. Cavett came to me when I first started. There was a doctor of engineering, 2 master's degree, bachelor's degree, black belt Six Sigma. I didn't even know what that meant at the time. This gentleman sat on the board for NASA engineers. He was sitting on a board of engineers trying to get food to the International Space Station because they were starving. And I said, what? That Dr. Cavett, have you shared that story with anybody? He said, nobody's asked me. I said, Dr. Cavett, start sharing that story. I said, what are you doing in the marketplace? He's like, well, I've been searching for 9 months. I can't get any interviews or offers. He goes, Dominic, do you think I need more education? Dr. Cavett, you don't need more education. They think you weird if you go get more education. Stop it. You need a new mindset. You need a new process that's going to get you from here to there. He's now on track to be one of the youngest senior executives in one of the world's largest companies at Walmart. And he calls me once a quarter and he tells me about all the great things going at Walmart and all the private jets they have and where they're flying him around the world. And they're mentoring him to become one of the youngest senior executives at Walmart right now. Okay, so where does this begin? Where do we start? We have to start somewhere, right? Every journey begins with the first step. Okay, we have to shift the paradigm. So what is a paradigm? It's a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our behavior, and almost all of our behavior is habitual. I got that from Bob Proctor, who just recently passed away, rest in peace. He was incredible, has been and will be a continued great mentor for me, not directly, but indirectly. I read all his stuff. I listen to all he's amazing. I would recommend if you get a minute, just Google YouTube Bob Proctor and start watching his stuff. It's fantastic. Okay, but we have to shift our paradigm. Remember, we talked about an educated person. Can you let go of some of your old cherished beliefs and take on new ones? I hear this all the time. I'm too old, Dominic. I have too much education. I'm asking for too much money. Stop it. There's more money out there than we know what to do with. There's more opportunities than we know what to do with. We just have to get in alignment with them. And I always say this, what you believe to be true, well, you will do. Somebody who's stuck on the age issue is never going to get over it. They're always going to run into the age issue with whoever they're meeting with. So what I did, I took the information from all of my best clients, okay? And I said, what makes you successful in this process? What is your belief system? What do you think about? How do you go about it mentally first? And this is what they shared with me, okay? The first one is this. Great companies need you more than you need them. Okay, why is that? Well, because great talent is hard to find. It's hard, they're hard to keep. They're expensive. So when great companies find top talent, right, they need you and they'll try to do whatever they can to get you. Okay, we talked about the Rams, and Tom Brady might be another example, right? How many teams wanted his services? Okay, great companies need you more than you need them. Okay, companies are built with talented people. If their talent leaves, their company's sunk. Okay, now here's the caveat to this. You must know your value and effectively share your value to the right person at the right time. It goes back to that branding thing we talked about in the beginning. If you don't know who you are and you're in a situation where a decision maker says, hey, Dominic, we're thinking about, opening up a position. We think you'd be a good fit. Why would you be a good fit for us? If I can't answer that question, I'm in trouble, right? But just build this belief into your system. They need me more than I need them. There's thousands, tens of thousands of companies out there. Number two, decision makers are always seeking to speak with top talent, even this very minute. That's why when somebody does research on a company and they say, well, there's already somebody who does what I do in that seat, it doesn't matter. If you're top talent and they recognize it, oftentimes they will create a position because they don't want you going to the competition. If you present your proposition properly, that's the key there. Most everybody goes into this process, here's what I can do for you, but they haven't built a relationship. Decision makers are always seeking to speak with top talent. Don't think otherwise, okay? Number three, great companies pay top dollar for top talent. We just talked about that a second ago. Why will they pay top dollar for top talent? I just got off a call this morning with a job seeker, and she was like, well, I'm at $150,000 a year, but I don't know if I should ask for more. Why not? They know the numbers. Think about this for a second. For those of you who've been in business more than 5 or 10 years or in a career, just take a look at your last compensation package over the last, just say 5 years, okay? Add up what you were paid over the last 5 years. Now take a look at what you were able to do in 5 years as far as impacting top and bottom line revenues. In other words, how much money were you able to generate for those companies or company that you were at over 5 years? How much in productivity? How much new membership? Well, Dominic, I'm not in a position to everybody's in a position to directly affect the top and bottom line. Somewhere in the process, they're paying you for something to do. Most people have an impact directly to the top and bottom line, but just add up how much revenue you've been able to generate for your organization. Oftentimes I'll hear my clients say, well, let's see, over 5 years, I was able to do about $7 to $10 million. Okay. And how much did they pay you for that 7 to 10 million? Well, over 5 years, I did about 100, well, probably $500,000. All right, so they paid you $500,000 and you brought in 8 million. They know the numbers. So when you don't be afraid to go and ask for that promotion, don't be afraid to go in and say, wait a minute, time out. I just brought in $7 million to this organization and you paid me $500,000 for that. That's a pretty good return on your investment. It's time that I get paid. And if not, guess what? There's other companies out there that want and need my services. Okay? Now I'm being really dramatic here, Renee, right? Little demonstrative or whatever, but I'm trying to make the point that we've got to take back control of who we are. Okay? Let me pause real quick. Are there any questions coming in that we can answer? Okay. So number 4, trust the process. The process works when you work the process. You guys have heard this a million times. This is no different than farmer out tilling the soil, making even rows, planting healthy seeds, watering, weeding, all that stuff, right? And in the job search process, your beliefs are your healthy seeds. But if you put the process in motion, it has to produce a bountiful harvest for you. It has to deliver. If you're using the process I'm talking about, it has to generate 3 to 5 offers. It has to. You're putting in good seeds. You're doing everything you're supposed to. The natural laws take over. Okay? Your current results are tied to exactly to your beliefs. That's just the reality of it. If you're struggling and trying to get the promotion, if you're struggling to land that job, if you're struggling in any part of your life, relationships or health or whatever, it goes directly back to how you believe about those issues. And when I was in this process, this is the first thing I did. I don't know how I came about it, but I went back and I identified my belief systems. Now, the beliefs I had to become a professional athlete were in alignment with me, and that's what propelled me to the highest levels. But as I was getting to the real world, about 90% of those beliefs were not serving me. And when I did the self-evaluation of my belief system, and I said, what do I believe about marriage? And I thought, well, you just don't get divorced. And I was on the brink of getting divorced. So I called my mom. I said, Mom, what's this all about? And she said, well, on both sides of the family, there's no divorce. So you kids have been raised with the belief that when you get married, you don't get divorced. Well, I was in such a bad way. I was squeezing my wife at the time to the point where she didn't want nothing to do with me. We were separated for almost 2 years. And so something was not right. So I went back and rewrote my belief on marriage. And my new belief was, I want for my spouse what she wants for herself. And I may not be part of that. And I'm okay with that. And as soon as I wrote that belief and started living by it, took the weight off. It allowed her to breathe, allowed me to breathe. And consequently, we were able to get back together. But I was like, whose voice is in my head? And it was mom, dad, grandma, grandpa. And as I did that with every area of my life, I was like, I'm not even living my life right now. Belief number 5, you have to be fully accountable for your results. Stop blaming everybody else. This is what I did. I blamed everybody else because and nobody wanted to hear it. I was a former professional athlete. I played at UNLV. Now I'm struggling, I'm whining and crying about it. Nobody wants to hear about that. I was saying, oh, I don't have this and nobody helped me with that. Be accountable for your results, okay? And here's the thing, it's really it comes down to the law of cause and effect. We can't expect great organizations to invest in us if we're not willing to invest in ourselves. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Well, I'm looking for a $300,000 position. Great. How have you invested in yourself? What have you done to improve your skill set? Where have you made the investment in yourself? Even if it's a few $1,000s, what books are you reading? What courses are you taking? What coaching are you getting? Don't expect a company to come in and offer you this big, huge contract if you're not willing to invest in yourself, okay? Now listen, I get there's gonna be some blocks here. I've probably triggered a lot of you in one way or another, right? So I get it, it happens. But we have outer and inner blocks, okay? The outer blocks might be things like, I'm stuck in the traditional job search, or I don't have an education or a big enough education, or I live in Detroit, Michigan, where they don't have any jobs. I had 2 clients in Detroit, Michigan. One said, oh yeah, there's plenty of jobs here. It's just a matter of finding the right one. One said, there's no jobs here. Who got the job faster? Geography, age, experience, inexperience. Okay, my resume is just not producing for me. Dominic, what do I do? Stop using it. Judgments, fear, doubts, limiting beliefs. I get it. I've been through all these. I went and got educated in how to coach people through them, because it's so important to know that we're all human. We're all going to feel these things. The difference between the great people and those that are mediocre is that the mediocre people will just allow those to run their life. The great people say, I'm scared, but I'm going anyway. I'm not sure if this is going to work out, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to learn as I go. Interpretations, gremlins, okay? So what I want to do with you, I'm trying to get through this rather quickly, you guys, so I can give you as much information. Here, I'm going to give you 5 or 6 assignments that I give to all my clients to help them build their brand, to build their self-confidence, to build their self-transformation, going from job seeker mentality to executive mentality. Here's the first one, right? I want you to get to know your value. And you do this through value statements, okay? I'm suggesting 10, but the more the better. Think back to a time during your career when you were faced with some sort of problem, challenge, obstacle, adversity. Okay? Think back. Whatever comes to your mind, just make a note of it in your notes right there. What was the problem you were faced with? What action did you take? Did you implement to solve the problem? And what was the result of your action? And if you can do it quantifiably, that would be fantastic. Increase revenue, savings, productivity. Okay, so there was a problem you were faced with. You took action and you got a favorable result. Now, when you're in that interview process, and the most important interview question you could ever answer, whether it's formally asked or not, is why should we hire you? This is how you're going to answer it. You're going to hire me because in my last position, in the first 6 months on the job, I was faced with this. I took action and the result was that. That's why you're going to hire me. So the more of these that you have, the better. These are called your value statements. Start making note of them in your success results journal. Go back and think about in the last 5, 6 years. Go back to when you were in high school. It doesn't matter when. It just matters when, how you did it. Okay? Number 2, you have to create a vision statement, you guys. Most people are out there looking for a job. They don't even know what they're looking for. What is the culture you're looking for? Write a description. The next job I want to drive into a parking lot that's covered, that's got my name right there in front of the parking stall. I want to walk underneath so I don't get hit by 4 feet of snow in Salt Lake City. As I look up to this beautiful glass building, my office is on the 3rd floor. I go into the foyer, I see the beautiful waterfall in the entry in the plaza there. I go take the glass elevator up to the 3rd floor. The receptionist is there to greet me with a good morning and notes from the previous night or whatever. I go into my glass office. I look out the back window. It's got a view. I can see the golf course, the airport's in the background. You guys can see, as I'm talking, you can see it in your mind's eye. Vision is so important. We have got to create a vision in the screen of our mind's eye and replay it, what we're looking for. There's so much power behind visualizing. I did it all the time as an athlete, and I started doing it here, and now everything, even this meeting today, I visualized before it ever happened. Renee was wearing a different colored top, but you get what I'm saying, right? Okay. All right, number 3. Okay, this is the biggest one. All right, we want to begin with the end in mind. This is the one that nobody does. We started suggesting it to our clients because they were getting offers and they didn't know which one to take. So we want our clients to write themselves an offer. Do it before you get into the job search process. Okay? Write it exactly the way you want to receive it. Now, most people, when I say this, go, well, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like. Okay. Well, then you certainly can't be interacting with the marketplace if you don't even know what you're looking for, right? So write yourself an offer, write it exactly the way you want to receive it with a realistic start date, full compensation package, role description, function, and level. Okay. Now, if you can't fill this out yourself, then I'm going to say, stop what you're doing. And let's make this a personal research project. Let's go fill this document out first. This is like using last year's treasure map for this year's treasure hunt. If you don't know what you're looking for, you have no business being out in the marketplace. If you can't clearly identify the thing that you want to do, don't go out trying to get an interview with a decision maker. They're going to spit you up and chew you up and spit you out. They will. You cannot be interacting with the marketplace until you know what you want and what it looks like and who you can serve. Okay. Number 4. This is a project I have my clients do because it's giving thanks in advance. I call it the Giving to Get project, and it's just a 1 to 3 page document that quickly demonstrates your value in thinking, philosophy, your success. Something you possess, maybe industry secrets that you can kind of give as a way of introduction or as a way of saying thank you for the people you meet in your process and your journey. It's a great way to open doors. It's a great way to say thank you. But there's something about you that's unique and different. Okay. I would just create a 1 to 3 page document and use this as your lead generator. Stop using your resume as your lead generator. They don't know you. They don't care about you until they know what you can do for them. This white paper assignment is one of the best if it's done properly. Okay. Now, here's the next one, is your verbal business card, your introduction. Okay, and I hear this misused all the time. What's your 30-second elevator speech? What's your, I can't stand that, right? Because it depends on who my audience is. I'm not going to give my 30-second elevator speech the same if I'm in a social setting at Christmas than I am if I'm meeting some executives from a company I want to work for. So you have to know your audience, and then you have to be able to tailor your introduction accordingly. When I'm meeting somebody new for the first time, I want to give them like an overview of my life. I grew up in Southern California. I went to El Camino Junior College. I played soccer at UNLV. I live in Salt Lake City. I'm a fan of the Raiders. I want to give them enough stuff to hold on to so we can have something to talk about. If I'm in a very specific setting, I'm going to give them very specific information about what I do and how I do it. You have to know your audience, but give out the right verbal business card, okay? I think the last one we have here, hold on, there we go, number 6. All right, this one's really powerful, you guys. When you can attach your brand to another great brand, like right now I'm attaching my brand with the UNLV brand, right? It's increasing the value of me because the great reputation of UNLV in this department, right? But I'm going to suggest you reach out, go back to your coaches, your teachers, your educators, your bosses, and ask them or write a statement for them to accept about you and how it was working with you. And then plaster this stuff all over your marketing material. This gentleman said, Adam, this CEO said, Adam approaches his work with amazing passion, enthusiasm, and an integrity that is hard to get not to get inspired by. Any company would be lucky to have him on their team. So I counseled Adam to put this everywhere. Also, I asked Adam if he would put down how big the president or how big Scott Transportation Corp is. Let me know. So the bigger the number, the more value that quote has. Does that make sense? So if you have a board of directors, a chairman of the board who will say nice things about you, get them to put it in writing or even write it for them and ask them if they'll sign off on it. Okay. But this is so important to have in your arsenal. Now, here's Larkin. She was one of my clients. She had spent 20 years in a nonprofit, was looking to get out of it. I said, well, what are you doing? And she said, well, every time I go in for an interview, all they want to do is talk about my nonprofit experience. And I said, well, you want to get out of nonprofit? And she said, yeah, I can't get around it. I said, okay, well, 1, stop sending your resume out. And 2, let's create a new message for you. Excuse me, let's create a document. We call it a one-pager. Let's create a one-page document that doesn't talk about where you did what you did, but what you did, and the results you got from what you did. Let's take the nonprofit terminology off the information. So now when the people look at it, they don't know that it was nonprofit, but it was still in the marketing field. You still generated results, didn't you? I said, she goes, I can do that? I said, who says you can't? There's no resume police out there saying you have to put this or that on your resume. That's how ingrained the social programming is, you guys. Get out of it, right? So she took the information we provided, just the information I provided you guys here with today. She took that in 3 weeks. She landed a 6-figure job in the profit sector. And we speak to her. I spoke with her just recently. Look her up on LinkedIn. I'm not making this stuff up. So you guys, just recapping, okay? Know your brand. Let's understand, define what your brand is, who you are, what you do. Track those successes, okay? Understand that the hidden job market sits in the job creation model. Let's play at the beginning of that model instead of the end of it, right? Let's incorporate some beliefs that are going to help us be successful in this process. You guys deserve more. We all deserve more. We all deserve to be in a position or working with a company that we get out of bed in the morning, can't wait to get to work. We can't wait to serve those that we're serving. We can't wait to interact with those we're interacting with. And we can't wait to get that paycheck that's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're paying me to do this. We deserve that. Our children deserve that. Don't let your children struggle in this process. Teach them this stuff now, and they'll find that they're going to have a long, successful, and prosperous life. You guys, thanks so much. Renee, I'm going to stop the share, and we'll take questions if they have any, and we'll go from there, okay? if I can find the, oh, hold on.
Thank
Okay,
you
there we
so
go.
much. How inspiring. You know, it really gives us a different framework to look at. So if anyone has any questions for Dominic, feel free to unmute yourself or put questions in the chat. We have some time. So there's one question in the chat. Do you recommend that we practice different versions of the verbal business card / intro?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. You have to have multiple introductions in your back pocket. Again, depending on where and who you're meeting with, you should have the appropriate introduction for that setting. Again, if you're in a social setting and you don't really know who this person is, you want to give them a wide net to attach themselves to, that you guys can have conversation over. If you know that you're in a business setting and a networking meeting and it's about, you know, your background, then dial it down and be a little bit more specific in what it is that you do and how you do it. Absolutely.
Other than Bob Proctor, who else would you recommend to watch or read to continue learning?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so what I first did was it wasn't anything about the job search process. It was more about who am I? How do I operate? And what were the things that helped me get to the highest levels of athletics, and what can I transfer into this career world? And so Proctor was one of the big ones. One of the very first books I read was through with Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And what his book did was just help. It's not a religious book. It's a psychology book. And it just gave me a different way of looking at life and how to think about relationships with spirit and all this other stuff that I'd been raised Catholic and was indoctrinated in a certain way of thinking. And what that book did was say, no, you know, maybe there's a different twist to the 10 commandments. Maybe they were called the 10 commitments. Think about that. Maybe try that on. So Neil Donald Walsh was one. Wallace Wattles was one. James Allen, Wallace Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich, Wallace Wattles, As a Man Thinketh, the corporate Athlete by Jim Lear and Jack Ripple. I mean, it just goes on. I have a library of books. I'm constantly researching and studying me, because I feel like the better I can study me and know me, the more I know you or my clients or those that I'm working with.
Any last questions?
You guys, is there anything part of the process, the hidden job market, you know, the business, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I think somebody was trying to say something. Renee, is somebody raising their hand?
No, I don't see any.
Okay. No, I was just going to say, if there's anything about the job creation model or playing in the front part of that business model that you guys want to discuss, or oftentimes one of the questions is, well, how do I get in touch with a decision maker, or how do I reach out, how to make introductions? So I'm not sure if anybody has any interest in that or whatnot. So. Oh, yeah. So, you know, just one of the strategies again is finding something out, doing some research on the organization, right? And again, most people aren't really going to be cared. They don't really care about you until they know, you know, that you have something to offer. And so the way you do that is you inquire about them. So one of the very first things I did after I reset my mind on how to go about this process was I started interviewing all kinds of people. I just wanted to know what your success secrets are. What is it about your industry? What makes you great? What makes your company great? And so I started asking people if they would take 5 or 10 minutes and let me interview them. Excuse me. And when I started doing that, I found that people were willing to share with me information. I interviewed Evander Holyfield, the 5-time world boxing champion, earned over $275 million in his career. Evander, how did you transfer from being a world boxing champion into the business world? And he shared it with me. Now there's Simon, one of my college teammates just joined. Hey, Simon. I interviewed Maurice Jones-Drew, the NFL's leading rusher. I interviewed Simon Keith, one of the only professional athletes to play with a heart transplant. ESPN did a movie on him. He's got books. He's doing great things with his foundation. You talk to people that are doing great things, that are having success, and learn from them. That's how you do it. And once you start inquiring about them and you keep asking them about them and about them, about them, at some point they'll stop and say, Dominic, enough about me. What about you? And remember when I said stop knocking on the parties, on the doors to parties you don't want to even be at, and start getting invited to those cool kid parties? That's what I'm talking about. Ask enough questions till they say enough about me, tell me about you. And when they say tell me about you, you better be ready to answer. Because if you don't know you and what you can do for them, that relationship's going to end pretty quickly, especially in the business setting. Hope that helps.
Looks like you gave me some homework for this weekend.
I gave you some homework?
Yes, you sure did.
What's the homework?
That I have to know me and my story and my brand and be ready to share that. So I appreciate it. I took a lot of screenshots. Good.
I was going to say, yeah, that's fantastic. You have to know you. You have to know what you can bring. People only want to know, how can you help me generate revenue? How can you help me increase productivity, membership, viewership? And if you're not ready for that, it's going to be really tough to get from where you're at to where you want to go. Yeah, you're welcome, Kate.
All right. If that is it, Dominic, do you have any last minute? Oh, we have another question just came in.
Okay.
What advice do you have for making career transitions within the same organization?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Well, the first thing that I would imagine you're going to have to do is get them to see you differently than how they see you right now. Because right now they see you as, a person sitting in the seat that does X. And what I would suggest to you is get them to see you as bigger than that, more than that, right? And until they can see you as being bigger and more than what you're currently doing, you have to see that you're bigger and more than that, right? It goes back to journaling and writing your value statements. You've probably done things in your current seat that were outside your job description. You probably did things in your seat that your boss was supposed to do. And you're too afraid to step on your boss's toes because, well, if they find out that it was really me that did their job, then I might get fired. Good, get fired. They don't deserve you. And if that's the case, there's bigger companies out there. What I'm hearing there, if they don't see your value, if you don't see your value first and can't share that, that's you. But if you know your value and they're not recognizing your value, then it's time to leave. Dr. Cavett, I was talking about, who was the doctor of engineering, when we started really getting through to him, he started getting offers, and he took a couple jobs that were beneath him. And it took him a couple jobs to realize that the stuff we had been talking about was really starting to manifest. And I said, Dr. Cavett, we got to think bigger. You bring too much value to the marketplace to be thinking at this level. Who are some of the biggest companies in the world that you can go get after and get talked to? And Walmart was one of them on his list. And so he started courting them. He said, I want to come to work for you. I know I can do a great job for you. Give me a shot. Give me an opportunity. Let me come in and talk to you about who I am and what I do. And by the way, did you know I helped feed the astronauts on the International Space Station? So I hope that helps. So exciting. I love this stuff, Renee. Let's keep talking. Let's get more questions in here. Let's go.
Yes. And again, if anyone wants to unmute themselves and have an open dialogue conversation with Dominic, please feel free to. This is some great information. We're so lucky to have him here today. So thank you, Dominic.
Oh my gosh, it's my honor. It's a privilege, and I love serving, and especially when it's at a place where I had so much fun. I mean, going to Rebel basketball games. I was here in '89 through '90 when, I met Larry Johnson in Coach Tark's office the weekend I got here. And Simon and I went to see Whitney Houston in concert at the Thomas and Mack, and we met Mike Tyson and we met Don King. I just had the greatest time being in Las Vegas back then, and just so appreciative. So
we have a lot of thank yous coming through the chat. So thank you. Very good. Great information. So again, everyone, I'll be sharing this recording following today's session. So you have it. Feel free to share it. All right. Well, if we have no more questions, Dominic, I just want to again express my gratitude to you for being here today, sharing your wonderful insight and giving us some inspiration. And so thank you again. We appreciate you and look forward to continuing to work and continuing this conversation.
Renee, thank you. I really appreciate it. And, you know, you and I had a chance to spend some time with my wife in Vegas when we were there a few weeks ago, and you showed us around. You were so kind and generous, and man, it was great to see the expansion of the campus and all the great things happening. Most of it wasn't there when I was there. So you took us around in the golf cart. We got to see some cool stuff. So we really appreciate that. And anytime I can help, or if anybody wants to reach out and have direct conversation, I know you'll get my information. We'll go from there. But thank you very much. Have a great rest of the year. And please let me know how else I can help, or if there's anything I can do for the UNLV group.
Thank you.